Digitalization of money requires a digital ID for all the people that would use that financial system. And this is part of the big rub with this whole thing. A digital ID, a digital identity, doesn't simply mean that you have now some kind of a new, like a driver's license, with a chip in it. That's not what this is talking about. Digital identity means that you can be identified in such a way to attach all of your history, your activity, and your future to one single point that represents you. Digital identity means total loss of privacy, total revealing of every conceivable activity that you could be involved with, all tied to one identity, so that wherever you move in the world, you can be known, and that additional transaction history of your travels will be recorded. A lot of people talk about how great Bitcoin is, for instance, but in the case of Bitcoin, you have a blockchain technology that underpins Bitcoin and puts all of the transactions into what they call a blockchain, where there is no transparency either. It just happens to be distributed, but where there's no one central place it's stored, but you can still look into anybody's blockchain and see exactly who did what, when, where, how, etc. The central banks are intending to create a digital currency that will use blockchain to collect with all of the pieces of information in it, but it will be flashed back to a central computer at the central bank, and it will be stored under your digital identity. That will be able to be analyzed using artificial intelligence software, where they can predict your behavior, and if they don't like the behavior that's predicted, they can modify your behavior before you commit that behavior that's unwanted. This is the essence of scientific dictatorship in the end. Whoever controls the data controls the object of the data. In other words, where it was collected from. So if the central banks are able to collect all of the financial data plus all of the other transactional data, so say you buy a house, for instance. You buy a house, well, there's a blockchain transaction that's generated with that. It's not, you paid money for it, but still the title is recorded in blockchain. That can also be flashed back to your digital identity. So all the parties are known, they're in the computer now, and can be analyzed. Wherever you might go, wherever you might show up, whatever you did on social media, tags where you are, or who you're with, or whatever. All of that information can be transmitted back to be attached to, in blockchain form, attached to your digital identity. So we say that wherever the data is collected from, whoever has that data in their hands will control the source of the data. That means the people from whom it comes. They're intending to do this to the whole planet. The whole planet. It's inconceivable that it's this big. So there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and they want everybody into the system. And you'll see the language, for instance, at the United Nations over and over: no person left behind. No person left behind. No child left behind. We heard that in education here in America. No person left behind. It must be an inclusive system, they say. Well, what that really means is, if you're not in it, we will help you along the way to make sure you get at it one way or another, right? So this is why that we're being driven right now towards this digital system, and it's much bigger than just a matter of replacing the dollar or any other national currency. It's likely going to happen all at the same time, not in stages, whatever, but probably just going to appear one day and say it's necessary now. We must do this now, and they'll do it now. And that would be the end of the old currency system. That would be the beginning of a new currency system.